Kamala Harris made the mistake of sitting down for an interview with 60 Minutes in a desperate attempt to try to quell concerns that she obviously has no idea what she is doing. And it's becoming increasingly suspicious that she's not doing any interviews, as is the norm in every presidential election throughout all of history, especially in the final month. And, well, things didn't go exactly as she had hoped.
Was democracy best served by President Biden stepping down and basically handing you a nomination? You didn't have to go through a primary process. You didn't have to fight off other contenders. That's not really the way our system was intended to work.
This man, somewhere deep down in his soul, still has the remnant of an actual journalist, even though he is working for CBS. You got to give this guy credit.
President Biden made a decision that I think history is going to show is rare among leaders.
To step down just a few months before a presidential election. Yeah, that's definitely rare. I'll show you a couple more clips because these were actually real questions and this guy wasn't taking any of her BS. But first, here's how MSNBC's Joy Reid, the angry black woman who used to style her hair like Donald Trump, is trying to spin the interview. This is a clip that she played completely out of context, cutting it off right before the best part, and then I'll show you what followed.
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
You could hear him there literally starting to butt in. But, and he was going to call her out on her BS. And then Joy Reid cut the clip right there and then started editorializing, telling her audience how amazing her answer was.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris in an interview on 60 Minutes describing how she will pay for her plan to help small businesses. It's one of several interviews Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, have in store this week, making their case to undecided voters.
Oh, she's doing more interviews, all right, with friendly entertainment outlets like Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert, the old bags on The View, and the floozy podcast for skanks, Call Her Daddy. And after this 60 Minutes disaster, she surely learned her lesson not to sit down with actual journalists. Here's that clip in its entirety. Wait for it.
It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
When Camelface did a sit-down interview a few weeks ago with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle, who used to be a financial reporter, but then later started drinking the Democrat Kool-Aid, even she pushed back against Kamala's insane ideas, knowing that such ridiculousness is never going to get passed through Congress.
And expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations.
I was raised in a middle-class home. Here's another question from her 60 Minutes interview, and whichever one of her staffers booked this definitely got fired.
Let me tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position.
It's not that people don't know her. People don't like her.
On so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regional.
Diversity!
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
And she's trying to weasel out of some of her previous positions by claiming that she was only the VP and those were Biden's policies. But here is old Joe admitting that the two worked in lockstep.
I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
And speaking of old Joe, he's been MIA, obviously, for the last few months, but he did make a surprise appearance at the White House press briefing room, and you could hear the gasp from all of the fake news reporters who are stunned that he's still allowed out in front of cameras.
Hey, folks. My name's Joe Biden.
Welcome, Mr. President.
Here's one more reason why she's never going to sit down with another journalist for the rest of the race and only do the late night talk show circuits and friendly podcasts.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was...
Oh, did you see that nonverbal twitch as soon as he said, but? She thought that she was going to get a softball. Well, it wasn't your fault. This was happening a long time ago. But
there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally.
From day one, they started ending Donald Trump's border policies, which then caused the invasion to quadruple.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
The problem is, not only did the Democrats block funding to complete Donald Trump's border wall, but then the Biden-Harris administration encouraged and paid for all of the illegals to come and are wasting our tax dollars on them to live here. This is treason, and we've known about the problem for many years because we're news junkies, but the average American, particularly the average Democrat, really has no idea, or just starting to learn about how many tens of millions of illegal aliens there are in our country, how the Biden-Harris administration encouraged and funded millions and millions, 10 million of them in the last 4 years to come, and are paying for them to live here. Here's her running mate, Tampon Tim, bragging about how the diversity has caused no unity and no cohesion in the public school system in Minnesota. And, of course, throughout the rest of the country. But that's where he's the governor.
We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school.
50 different languages spoken in the school. California residents know that the reason why test scores have been so low in public schools for decades is because of the illegal aliens and their anchor babies who have a terrible grasp of the English language. The Constitution in this country is written in English. If you can't speak, understand, and write in the English language, you should be deported. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because if you found this video, it's a miracle, because this channel has been shadow banned for many years. And to the current subscribers, please share these videos on your social media accounts and put out a call to action, encouraging others to subscribe. And hopefully, maybe, someday, we can get this channel up to 2 million subscribers. So thanks for all your support. Stay tuned, and I will see you soon.